The era of Jiang Zemin is over, though his reforms will be remembered forever. Hu Jintao now leads the party in Beijing, though despite his widespread popularity, not all support his continuation of Zemin's policies. A rising star in Chinese politics named Xi Jinping is becoming more and more outspoken against the party clique in charge with the backing of the conservative hardliners. They have gone so far as to outright and publicly support Russia and the dangerous actions of our former ally. Russia, having invaded Estonia for superfluous reasons a year before, has been kicked out of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and relations continue to deteriorate. As other former trade partners and allies like India and Turkey get more extreme as well, the West is becoming the only place left to find cooperation. Turkey recently bought the Okinawa base, which the US sold to Japan recently, and despite claims it is peaceful, is a worrying threat to China, as their nuclear weapons program is very far along. With the election of Barack Obama, a meeting is planned between the United States and China, where it is likely both countries may dramatically change their foreign policy outlooks. This is another episode of China Millennium Dawn Roleplay, a mod for Hearts of Iron 4. If you like the series and want to see more, please leave a like and subscribe.
Jiang Zemin retired 2 years ago. We now have Hu Jintao in power. In the roleplay, Jiang Zemin really pushed for a unified party. In the focus tree, we went down the middle path of our political focus tree, which was preserving CPC unity instead of going with either group. We've really tried to maintain a very balanced party. However, Xi Jinping in this timeline really tried to made a push for power like he did in real life, just without as big of a power base as before. Now, we built up the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the SCO, with Russia, but we have recently kicked them and their allies out of the SCO, so now it's just Asia. We're about to go do some talk. We've also created a Asian Technological Council, so we've merged our research institutions, our space program, as well as a few other groups like that, with the Koreans, which are unified, and the Japanese, who we work very closely with.
Zhang Yingwen right now, speaking to Hu Jintao.
Zhang Yingwen, it is good to speak with you. Thank you for calling me up.
Of course, we heard we want to discuss the Russian-Chinese relations and how are they at the moment?
Non-existent.
Really?
We, as you may or may not have known, Xi Jinping, a party official with the Conservative Party, had been pushing really heavily within our country for a more Marxist doctrine and for us aligning with Russia. I would like you to keep this very private in this meeting, as this is very need to know in China, but we have found links between the conservative faction and close ties with the Moscow government, which was, of course, very dangerous. They have been pushing for massive protests throughout China, and as such, over the last week, we have arrested thousands of conservative Chinese officials, and Xi Jinping is currently in custody. As such, we have cut off relations with Russia and formally expelled them from the Shanghai Cooperation Organization.
That is wonderful to hear. We were very concerned that that China may not go with us, but we were happy that you have come to your senses and realized that.
Well,
Russia...
while you're right here, I would like to ask about the. I believe you put some trade restrictions upon our country, and I'd just like to ask if you plan on continuing those, given the fact that we have absolutely no contact nor support for the Russian state currently.
Yes, we just did some precautionary measures, mainly on some Chinese companies that were kind of closely aligned to Russia. But now that we can tell that China is not going with, we would like to know that we would be lifting this as we've seen China pick the right path. And because of these trade restrictions and China is distancing themselves from Russia, we're also willing to lift any semiconductor ban we ever had, as China's adopted Western patent laws, and we do not have to worry about them going into Russia.
All right, we have, let's do some quick math here. We have 16.7% of factory contributions, and we have 690 factories. All right, focus tree wise, we have done a mission to the dark side of the moon, and we are in the process of building a nuclear outpost. So a lunar outpost. So I will write a post about that in a moment. We're going to be really, frankly, leading the edge on space colonization. When we're done with that, we're going to work on probably the electronics industry, and then we'll go back to some of our political focuses.
Hello, Chairman.
Mr. Obama, it's a pleasure to speak with you. I don't think we've had a formal chance to have a conversation since I assumed office. It's been a little while.
Yes, though it does, but yes, though it is nice to hear from you, and US of course congratulates you on your successful rise to power within China.
Thank you. I am here only at the bequest of my mentor, the Honorable Chairman Zeman, a man who China will always remember. Mr. Obama, I think a talk between China and the United States is very overdue.
Yes. What comes to you to talk about?
We have a bit of a international restructuring. The old system is dead. With Russia's pariah status given their invasion of the Nordic region, China finds itself without its old allies. That alongside the new alliance that India has chosen to cooperate with and the very extreme, given India's flirtation with the far right and fascism, we are finding ourselves with very few allies internationally. I know that both of our countries have been rivals in many ways for quite some time, but I hope that you now have the maturity to understand that you are dealing with an equal and not a lesser nation, given that our GDP has surpassed yours now.
Yes, US is fine to do that. Whether we know such things would not have happened under the Bushes, but under Obama, I am more open-minded when it comes to such things. Though I do wish to address we do feel that Russia has destabilized Europe, in which US has left Europe, but we do find it troubling that the Russians will not.
We agree. We are in talks for Germany to join the SCO, and with that, we are also in talks to create a mutual defense pact. We see the security of Central Asia and Europe, especially Eastern Europe, to be of very extreme concern, and wish to work to obviously isolate Russia from the international community. I hope that your administration shares that objective, President Obama.
Yes, we do. We do seek a common agreement.
So, Mr. Obama, I am suggesting something then in these talks here. You obviously have your alliance, the Monroe Alliance, which I believe is more of a defensive alliance than an economic one. China does now have pretty much sole dominion, though that will change if Germany enters the SCO over the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, though it is an economic and a very decentralized system, very different than the Monroe Alliance that you have. I don't therefore see us having any conflicting interests that would stop us from beginning to cooperate more heavily. I was not willing to cooperate with your predecessor, Bush, as he was very hostile to China and did a lot of very dangerous actions internationally, especially in the Middle East. But given I have really liked what I've heard from your campaign promises and what I've seen in your policy, I think we can begin potentially to build a good relationship between the United States and China. There's no reason we need to compete when there is so much at stake in the international community.
Yes, we would very much love to agree with that. I am willing to see China as an equal in a way.
In a way? Would you like to clarify that, Mr. Obama?
The Democrats, under my administration, will see you as an equal. I don't think you'll get the same sort of talk from the Republicans.
I understand. To begin, I would like to sign a non-aggression pact with the United States so that we can begin to negotiate not from a place of obviously worry that we may have any sort of military crisis in the future.
Yes, I would be willing to sign this, and I will happily sign it.
The other thing is, China is looking for economic partners, given that our old one in Russia is dead. We are cooperating with Germany, but we would like to propose the idea of economic cooperation between the United States and China.
We will be willing to sign a mutual pact with you, as we have also started to de-escalate trade and agreements with the Commonwealth of Nations due to that.
If there's nothing else, President Obama?
No, there is nothing else.
It's good to speak with you, and I'm glad the United States and China are finally on an equal footing and the same page for the first time in quite a while. Our traditional industry has tended to center around low-tech sectors such as textile industry. If we are to become a modern, developed country, we should facilitate the informatization of our industrial development. Huawei. In the area of telecommunications and consumer electronics, Huawei is one of the most innovative firms worldwide. We should support this rising tech giant. We also have the ability to blow up Huawei phones if they're in the hands of foreign governmental officials we don't like, so that's a real plus. Lenovo. Lenovo is rapidly increasing its share of the laptop market and is making strides in its smartphone, software, and television industries as well. Its activities could benefit from state assistance. We're pretty fucking strong right now. And we did it peacefully too. No posturing, no warmongering, no purging, no stealing of any copyrighted stuff. We did it legit. This is what China should have done. But culturally, this wasn't going to happen, which is a shame. President Erdogan.
Hello, welcome to my palace in Ankara. Hu Jintao.
We are formally asking you to stop all troop movements in the Kurdistan region until the Chinese government has had time to speak with you regarding this very dangerous situation.
Alright, I will stop it. But it takes a while. Let me wait. I need to talk to my general.
President Erdogan, your actions here are beginning to become more and more dangerous. You are, of course, a fellow SCO member, but your actions in the surrounding countries have become increasingly dangerous, and you are becoming a bit of a threat to Central Asian and Middle Eastern security here. What provocation do you have to declare war on the Kurds like this, besides your historical dislike for them?
Mr. Chairman, I think that you are not well informed about the Kurdish issue.
Perhaps not.
They are directly connected to the terrorist attack before a few years, and I did a statement about this. A PKK attack in Istanbul airport. 239 international guests died, and we have classified information that the state that is not even recognized by the world of Kurdistan has direct connections to them. And the people of Kurdistan are directly connected to Turkey. We have the same history and we will have the same future. I'm stabilizing the Middle East, which my efforts in Iraq proves. Iraq is as rich
So I assume
as
that
they are never before.
you plan on changing their government to one not associated with these rebels and pulling out of the region then?
I can do a referendum if they want to join our states. Or let me be frank. I will not tolerate any Kurdish state because it could destabilize the entire being of Turks.
China will not stand for the annexation of Kurdistan, and we had hoped to hear news regarding your plans to release an independent Iraq with a sovereignly elected government there as well.
They wanted to be a part of the nation. You cannot harm the will of the people.
Mr. Erdogan,
Hu
this is a
Jintao,
private call.
I have
You do not
respect
need
for
to.
you.
You do not need to put on pretensions with me.
I have great respect for you, but I hope that you will not put your nose into the affairs of the Turkish nation.
Unfortunately, you have
focus on
chosen to
Russia.
involve yourself in foreign affairs, and that is where China, which is now the global superpower, will need to look very differently on your actions. When we first established our relationship, as you know, China was much weaker. We were not respected by the international community, and we lacked the resources to ensure stability internationally.
But not
China
on Turkey.
remembers well what warmongers do when they enter a country. There was a time when our now friends in Japan destroyed our people, destroyed our country, and attempted to eradicate our culture. China will not stand for countries doing something like this internationally. I wish to cooperate with you, President Erdogan, as we do have a relationship,
wish
and
to
in
do
the
the
past
same.
I respected your actions. But what you're doing in the Middle East cannot stand.
Hu Jintao, it seems that you are an enemy of the Turkish people. You support
Anyone who disagrees
the
with you is
Kurds
an
that are
enemy,
killing our
President
nation.
Erdogan. That is disappointing. I thought you were more reasonable than that.
I am. The Kurds want to see my people die. They want to divide the Kurdish and the Turkish, but we are one. I just hope for you to focus on somewhere else. Look at the actions of the Russians, or at the Kabi alliance
came
that
here
is forming against China.
Under good terms with your government. I wish to try and have a discussion with you in private before I take this to the Americans and the international body, which will look and want much harsher actions here, President Erdogan.
It would not be good for the future of the entire world.
President Obama, do you have a moment?
Yes, sure. I was just overseeing.
Good.
New launches
Given our
and stuff.
newfound cooperation and the mutual interests we share, I'd like to have a very frank discussion with you about the steps we can take to ensure that Turkey is not allowed to continue to occupy Middle Eastern countries without any action being taken. I assume you view this as an issue much like we do.
Yes, I was just actually talking to the Bangladeshi envoy. He has also raised the concerns, and there should be sanctions placed upon Turkey for abruptly, imperialistically attacking Kurdistan, who was relatively independent and neutral in the terms of the world.
I would like to suggest, frankly, a pretty radical proposal here. As you know, China now has a very large and very powerful fleet, as does the United States. I would like to propose a formal blockading of all of Turkey. Not allow any goods to leave or come in effectively cut them off from the international markets, and until such time as President Erdogan realizes that his actions will meet a fitting response.
I agree with this, though we will have to also be prepared in the event that he tries to break the blockade with military force. We offer you naval access with Bahrain, you can resupply there without issue.
Fantastic.
Yes, we have embargoed them. In fact, they were actually receiving US aid, I believe, which is also cut off from...
Very well. I will work on putting out a statement right now about the embargo upon Turkey. I do expect, frankly, some pretty concrete actions from the Russians, and I'm sure Turkey will immediately align themselves with them.
Yes, we thank you.
Thank you for your time. Chinese tech dominance. Now that our major tech companies have received sufficient support from the state, we can establish China's dominance over the global technology industry. Last way to quality engineering. Quantity has tended to trump quality in terms of our industrial development. Now that we have become an advanced economic power, there is no longer needs to be the case. We are militarizing a little bit here, given the state of the world as well.
A Korean ship that was on a regulated supply run to fuel Korean efforts in the Mediterranean was struck by a Turkish missile just off the coast of Korea. The Korean Navy has declared this an act of war and would like retaliation and reparations from the Turkish government to consider the 57 killed sailors and the 400 injured.
The lie campaigns of the imperialist states of America and China go into the next round. Our only own military action was against the tyrant Saddam Hussein in Iraq, together with the United States of America, where we were careful that the Americans did not commit war crimes, so we observed the actions of the American troops to save the Muslims there. And the military action against the PKK was to prevent separation between the Kurdish and the Turkish and to prevent division into our people. We have stabilized the Middle East. The people are happy as never before. We have a common history and we will have a common future. Nobody can stop us there. It's way too late. Leave our territorial waters or you will drown there. This is the last. If you don't leave our territorial waters in the next month, we will shoot and fight for our sovereignty.
The US, over these past 2 years, has seen its economical rebuild of the American people. We have also seen it fit that we are rebuilding the America economically through environmentally friendly or eco-supportive friendly methods. 4 years in office, see that the US will have a green economy and also a greener emission output. Other than that, I wish the speaker a good day.
Very much.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am happy to address you as the chairman of the CCP and the representative of China. I would like to first start by asking the delegates to do their research before making statements about the actions the United States and myself have made. We blockaded Turkey after extensive diplomatic talks where it was made very clear to us, and I quote, that you can't stop us anymore. The Turks have taken military action that continue to occupy Iraq without proper cause, and their justification that it is an unstable region is not valid. China takes its newfound superpower status very seriously, and I think it speaks much to the actions of Turkey that we only find such rogue nations as Russia supporting them given the dangerous threat that they represent to the world. I'd also like to say that I really want to question the international community to let these actions go unopposed. Turkey once genocided a group of people, the Armenians, and as such, we really find it important that we ensure that Turkey does not commit another act like this. Until such time as Turkey allows an independent Iraq and an independent Kurdish state to exist within the Middle East, we will continue our blockade sides the Americans. In the event that they do fire upon our ships, that will of course be an act of war. In addition, if any attempts to move nuclear weapons into Okinawa with the express permission of Japan are done, we will shoot down any ships that try and make that crossing, and we'll blockade those waters. And we also declare that an act of war by anyone involved with that situation. We need to make our commitments very seriously, and we will not allow an aggressive state like Turkey to exist in this world. Thank you for your time. The fact that Japan is going to be stationing or trying to station nukes, we have obviously blockaded Okinawa. We'll fire on any Turkish ships trying to cross. Actually, I need to put out a statement for that.
I'm also quite shocked that I personally, in a peace accords, gave Okinawa back to Japan in good in good agreement, and I'm
Now that things have changed dramatically in the international scene, President Obama, I know the United States is not like China. You do change your politics quite often. But given the fact that you look very good in the poll numbers, I would like to open the possibility of America potentially working with the SCO. I never thought I'd hear myself say that, nor China propose such close ties, but it appears that we're the only nation standing up for what is right in this world. Again, a very strange circumstance, but we do find ourselves as friends in these times, President Obama.
yes, considering the US had collapsed, well, NATO had collapsed. Yes, we would be willing to become observers in the organization.
I will say, President Obama, if we work together, we will be the undisputed economic hegemon of the world, alongside all the other, obviously, SCO members.
Yes, but I also wish to also call out Japan in selling a base that I gave to him in good, peaceful agreements. They're now giving it to Turkey.
We would also like to formally. Do you have nuclear weapons currently stationed in your based in Qatar?
Yes, we have not a majority. We have a few ICBMs.
We would like to formally request, simply as a show of strength, that China be allowed to station several of their nuclear weapons there as well.
Yes, since we are working together, yes, you are allowed to.
Wonderful, thank you. We'll have them pointed at Turkey.
Well, it will be, yes.
And I assume that you are ready to stand strong with China and ignore the absolutely disgusting UN resolution demanding that we stand down our blockade, of course.
Yes, the US will not be. Yes, the US will not be bullied by the General Assembly members into doing something that we see as
good.
We will not allow terrorism.
Hello.
To put it lightly, what the fuck are you doing?
My friend.
Don't you dare say that to me. Don't you dare.
Japan, why are you giving out US bases that I gave back to you in good kindness? Your previous Prime Minister, we had a peaceful agreement.
If I'm completely honest, it's not your base anymore. It was our land.
Hold on, America, give me just Mr. President Obama, 1 second. I'd like some answers here. We are in a technology council together. We have cooperated. We advanced, worked together massively. We have a lunar colony together. We're planning on going to Mars together. And you allow our enemies to place nuclear weapons in your territory against us?
Frankly, it is not our territory. We have made it very clear that we have sold the land.
You rented that territory out to the Turks. That is very different than giving it away.
This was rented out, frankly, years ago, for one.
And you are able to pull that back whenever you like and take back that territory. Do not pretend that you have no actions you can take here.
If we are frank, we do not believe in a blockade of Turkey.
So you will allow them to place nuclear weapons in your territory against us. That is not an equivalent response, President.
For one, like I have said already, a sale has been finalized with Mr. Erdogan of the land.
If you do not take back that land, we are going to diplomatically cut off relations with you, abolish the Asian Cooperative Council, and kick you out of the SCO, as well as implement an embargo on your country.
Mr. Jintao, I will be completely honest with you. I have great respect for Mr. Erdogan. And
you are supporting his annexation of sovereign countries. I thought Japan was better than that.
Mr. Jintao, you do realize how unstable the Middle East is at the moment, right?
That doesn't justify annexation by a warmonger like the Turks.
Japan does not support the annexation, but we do not support an immediate release. That would only destabilize the region even further. Do you want a war in the Middle East?
I optimally would like to have a system wherein Iraq and Kurdistan would be administered by an international authority until the stability could be placed there. But to allow it to continue to be occupied by the Turks, which have shown nothing but a dangerous proclivity towards annexation and war, that is a dangerous thing. I agree that that region simply can't be given to its own devices. But to allow Erdogan to administer it, that is unacceptable to China.
Then if we wish to make demands to Erdogan to perhaps allow a internationally led state or autonomous zone...
He will not lead it. It must be internationally run. Someone else...
Yes, I've mentioned this already. Then Japan will absolutely back you on it.
Here would be our proposal. A joint force of Japan and several other international neutral actors administer an autonomous region in Kurdistan and Iraq and place observers there to transition them back into a democratic process. forcing Turkey to release those regions. You yourself would be directly involved with them. In addition, you would take back the Okinawa territory and either incorporate it to yourself or make it a neutral territory, as we cannot have the Turks administering a region there with nuclear weapons. This is what we would propose.
Well, I will have to, of course, discuss the re-annexation of the base with Mr. Erdogan, but
I will put this
we'll also
very
discuss
simply.
with,
China will not allow that to be Turkish. We will start a war, and we will face a nuclear war if needed in order to take that back. It's that simple. We can't allow our security interests to be like this. There is no circumstance where that happens. If this is not met with an appropriate response, and we do not see them no longer control that base, China will go to war. It's that simple.
you do recognize what you are saying right now.
You recognize what you have done to give the Turks that land. Do not act as though this is China's fault. If there is a war, it will be on you in the history books.
Mr. Jintao, I believe you would be the aggressor. We gave Turkey this land years.
It would not be an
ago.
aggressive action in order us to stop nuclear weapons being pointed at our capital from a base in Asia owned by Turkey, which is not in Asia. That is a defensive action. You can call it whatever you like, but we are more than justified in this. It is necessary for our survival to do so.
Removing nuclear weapons from Asia, and I will have a word with Mr. Erdogan about the situation.
I will say this, if you can convince him to give that base back to you, pull missiles out of Asia, and a joint administration of Iraq and Kurdistan, there will be no more. But if that doesn't happen, China is resolute in what must be done for our survival. It's that simple. Is that understood?
Absolutely.
Good.
I will have a conversation with Mr. Erdogan immediately.